Autobots transform and roll out.
Everyone loves it.
Princess Peach or Toad.
Yakon. Raphael.
Like, what am I watching, man?
Hey, folks, what's going on? My name is Scott Schertzen, alongside Mr. Davion Bussey, Mr. Robert Manning, a.k.a. Buddy the Elf, and joining us today, staple of our 90s, 2000s, 2010, and 2020s. Now at this point, oh my God, we're already in the 2020s. Childhood. Voice actor for Ren and Stimpy, Doug, Bugs Bunny and Space Jam, and probably most notably, several characters in the criminally underappreciated but still critically acclaimed Futurama, Mr. Billy West. Sir,
Yes.
how the hiffle are you?
Is it critically underrated? The critics
so.
liked it.
It's more of a niche thing, you know.
Well,
and
the
early
audience
on, if you
likes it,
remember,
and critics like it, and that's unusual, you know. So this season we're hearing that stuff.
And it must be a popular fan favorite because I know the show has been canceled several times, but keeps coming back. It's
Yes, I always have the audience to thank for that, you know.
Yeah, that was a rough start for you guys.
Hey guys, like and subscribe. Hit that button, smashing link in bio. Hey guys. I'm making a pod movie called
There you
Hey
go.
Guys.
Click the bell icon for
yeah.
Patreon, go F me. OnlyFans.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say we get a Billy West like OnlyFans or something. A Zoidberg OnlyFans.
I'm chasing clout.
This is great. Also, he's also known as the Red M&M.
Yes.
Have you ever eaten me? I have.
So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I want to ask you, Billy, is what got you into voice acting?
I was just a freak when I was a kid. I was a little freak. There was no word for autism in the 50s when I grew up. And I used to Tourette out voices and make noises. And I was always, I couldn't sit still. I was what they call stimming and, all these things that everybody knows now, but no one knew about then. And I hated school. I couldn't understand anything. I used to be so frustrated because I'd be like, why is everything so goddamn hard? And my father would be trying to show me something and he'd wind up hitting me with the very implement, involved. He just thought I was stupid. So luckily for me, they used to show the Three Stooges before I went to school every morning. So I went to school with a head full of that stuff. And I'm glad I did because everything that I was doing when I was 8 years old is exactly what I do in 2025. So I might as well have never gone to school. If I ever listened to anybody, I would have never had a life or a career. Yeah, so
get a real job. Work in the post office. They have a pension.
My mother used to leave brochures out all the time.
Yep.
The post office is hiring.
Yep.
That and alcohol consumption information, pamphlets to give me a hint like, hey, do you think you might want to stop it?
But it helps you actually come up with new ideas, though, while, inebriated.
Yeah. New ideas like how many nights to spend in jail on a good run.
That's valid. But I do understand that one a little bit, too, in the isolation and the voice accent. Boy, do I understand that one 100%. So congratulations, big time, on making that a part of you, then.
I think that it was just, I was dying for a way to express myself. So the minute I got a pen and some paper or some paint and paper, I started drawing and I did it for a while. It wasn't enough of a fix. It wasn't immediate enough. So all of a sudden I get an instrument from school. I get a trumpet and I was playing all the time. And I found out that I could express myself through that stuff and by singing and, I could imitate everything that I heard on the radio or TV. I mean, I had a sonic world. And, all my little friends, everybody that I loved lived in a little box in the corner of the room. There was only 3 channels. Everything was black and white. TV went off at 11 o'clock at night. And there was a desperation, like when I watched something, because you never knew if something was going to be rerun, because you had no idea of knowing. They wouldn't tell you. So if you were watching the coolest thing you ever saw in your life and it's about to be gone in 30 seconds, there's this desperation, this desolation, and you know, this horrific feeling that you're never ever going to see the coolest thing you ever saw in your life. You're never going to see it again. So what people like me did is learned how to emulate it so you could replay it that way.
Mhm.
Just like suck in every single thing with every bit of your DNA. And all my friends were those kind of kids. When they went to the movies, they just were like sponges, just because you never were going to see it again.
But see, you're an inspiration that way, though. So
Yeah.
Well, I used to go. I had a TV show that I loved in the 1960s, 1965, called The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was a spy
yes,
show. And
bravo,
Robert
Logan.
Vaughn was my
Awesome.
idol. He was, you know, he was with beautiful women all the time, and he carried a gun, and he had a cool car with gull wings, typical standard secret agent stuff. But I guess what I really was attracted to was the music in that show, which happened to be written by Jerry Goldsmith.
Mm.
So I had to capture that. Once I got a tape recorder, I went nuts. I was taping television all the time and taping radio, because suddenly you could have it in your hand and you could replay it. You could own it. Before, you couldn't have anything. Media was not in your hands. If you want to see a movie, you had to go to a movie theater or watch TV. So I went down to the Combat Zone in Boston, which is where all the strip clubs were, and I really felt like I was, on the dark side, like a spy mission for real. I had a coat and I had a tape recorder underneath it, and paid my whatever it was, 50 cents to get into the theater. And there was a movie that played the summer of '65, and they made a full length feature out of the Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV pilot, and it was in color. So, I went, and every time I heard a music cue, I flipped the little button on the recorder, and I got them. I got all the things that used to make me crazy. And I go home and I listen to that thing and this was a reel to reel tape recorder, like little brown tape. And I played it until it just fell apart. It just disintegrated, because I couldn't hear it enough. And it helped me become a musician later. When I got a guitar, I was able to play TV themes, and I was able to do all that stuff. Yeah, pretty strange.
Wow.
That's awesome, though. So, you guys got anything?
I was gonna say, before I'll let Day answer question next, but I was gonna ask real quick. So you mentioned Three Stooges, and I saw one of the fun facts about you, and I wanted to see if it was true. Is they said supposedly your character Ren was based on Larry.
Stimpy, the cat, was based on Larry
Okay.
Fine from Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I love them so much, Larry he just sounded like a depressed old Jewish guy. Hey, Mo, there's too much tinsel in the tree. Hey, Mo, you took my money, didn't you? Yeah? Then it's Shemp. He's come back to haunt us. And it was so nothing, and it was so, it was beautiful in its nothingness. And it's what drove me crazy. And so that voice was sped up. It was amped up. I had to amp it up to play Stimpy the cat. Happy, happy, joy, joy. But the bassist was Larry Fine from the Three Stooges.
Nice. Day?
What was your experience working with Ren and Stimpy? Because I basically interviewed Bob Camp.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Yeah. I was close to Bob. We were pals, and I enjoyed working with him. We went through this hellish experience. I'm sure he's told you
Yeah.
his story, unless he has like a gag order on him or something. But I don't think so.
He was pretty open with a lot of this, at least a lot of the stuff anyway.
Well,
because I remember your interview. So
I thought it was Um, you know, I did a cartoon in 1988 called Beanie and Cecil, and
Yes.
it was a redo of an old
Mm-hmm.
cartoon of the same name, and they wanted to, reboot it. And so ABC decided to do it, and they had John Cristofalusi was the animator on it and director. And he kind of was a renegade. He ran wild, which I respect to certain degrees. But if you make deals with people like the Suits, you got to stick to your word. You can't like stab them in the back midway through production and all those like, you know, treachery kind of things. I have a work ethic, and I also have a wild ass streak, and there's nothing I won't do or try or say. But you know, you have to. There has to be a cop on the beat,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise the talent will go crazy. It's like, oh, we can put the arms on the Venus de Milo. What are we waiting for? I mean, that's what happens when you don't follow any kind of oversight.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going on. So the show was booted after 6 episodes, and that was kind of his calling card. He would go 6 and press that self-destruct button and blow his foot off, and so it happened that he was going to animate Ren and Stimpy and direct it, and they came to Nickelodeon with that idea, and so yeah, he's going to talk to the women at Nickelodeon. So we went to um, Nickelodeon Viacom in Times Square. It was in a building, and it was also where MTV Networks was. And
Wow.
this is a long time ago. This is like 1982 or something.
You're dating all of us now, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you were around.
Yeah, before I was even born.
75. 1970. I just turned 50.
I know
86.
it's so weird to be discussing stuff from beyond 3 decades ago, but that's okay. I was there. I did it. But we went to Nickelodeon, and he realized that before he goes in to pitch the show to the women at Nickelodeon, it was Jerry Laybourne and Mary Harrington, Vanessa Coffey, and I think there was some others, maybe Linda Semensky. Um, they were all great women, and they were all, open-minded enough to put on something like that. And everything that the networks were doing is what they refused to do, is they didn't want Saturday morning cartoons,
Mm-hmm.
because we were peppered with My Little Pony and Rainbow Bright and Strawberry Shortcake and Pound Puppies and all this little.
Yeah.
And it's like, talk about pandering to children. I mean, you got to take them on an
Smurfs,
adventure.
Care
You
Bears,
can't
yeah.
mirror their own goddamn reality. So he went in, but he realized that he didn't have a demo tape
Mhm.
to play the characters. So we went in a closet. This was right out of the movies, Went into a closet at Nickelodeon up the hall from this news guy's office, Kurt Loder. And there was a broomstick or a mop handle, and put the little tape recorder mic on the top of it. And I'm like, you know, I'm like bunched in reading. It was just right out of a plot from a 1940s movie. And I did both voices. And so he went in to pitch the show, and he came back out. He said, "Congratulations, what you did just sold the show." And I said,
Hmm.
"Wow, that's wonderful." But he decided that he was going to do the Ren voice. And I always say this, I didn't give a fat frog's ass who did what, because I had a job doing a voice in a cartoon. I was
Mhm.
over the moon. You don't know how thrilled I was. And so we started working together, and I was flying once a week from New York to Hollywood,
Hmm.
and I happened to be on the Howard Stern show at the same
Mhm.
time.
Mm.
Yeah. What's Billy talking about, Robin? He never knew what I was talking about.
But see, that's a lot of ways how you got your start in notoriety on a mainstream level, because just the raw draw that K Rock had,
Yeah. Well,
got
his
you.
show in particular, the rest of
Mhm.
it was baloney.
Yeah.
Classic rock was just, it was a dead lake. You know what I mean? It was like nothing lived there, nothing alive. The art was all done. The disc jockeys just so were enamored by these oldies that
Mhm.
they felt like they had something to do with the creation of it. And disc jockeys are just like curators in a museum. You present the statues, you didn't create them. And I was a musician, so I knew how hard it was to create music. And I resented these guys, trying to be cool with their jackets and, hey, I work on the radio. Yeah.
Well, that was
Yeah,
what.
me
That's
too.
what Howard Stern was. He was the antithesis of all that.
Yeah.
The movie Private Parts really delved into that.
Yes, yeah, he was, and that's what I really loved about him. Is nobody ever thought that these rules, like you got to tell people the time and the temperature every on the clock, and it's like, why? I mean, if somebody wants to know what time it is, there's clocks everywhere that and you want to know what the weather is, stick your head out the window or whatever. And Howard used to rail against that, and he did it live, and he did it very well, and it was artful. I admired it because I liked the idea that somebody could come along and knock these pompous little myopic program directors on their ass. It was a thing of beauty as far as I was concerned.
I get it.
Yeah, but we started working, and then after 5 episodes, people started noticing the same episodes playing over and over every week. Didn't go beyond 6, and there was no explanation. Nickelodeon didn't say anything. It was just it was John, non-delivery of episodes. It was this, that, and the other thing, this issue with someone else. And it's like, I just wanted to be a professional. I always show up, do 1,000% more than anybody expects. That was my modus operandi, but he got fired from his own show.
Mm-hmm.
and he expected me to quit in solidarity with him. But the thing is I wasn't his partner. I was a hired gun, no more, no less. You know what I mean? And so he's saying, quit the show. And it's like, yeah, and go to what? I had a job, and now I'm not going to have a job because you have emotional problems. And no, they try to shove it down my throat that I was this bad guy and I was disloyal and all this other Scientology crap, and I wouldn't listen to it, and the internet was just getting started, and there was a very small but active group of posters online in the chat rooms, just really tearing me apart, saying the worst things, and I had to live with that. I had to eat that, and also all the way to the Stern show, where they sandbagged me and brought him in with some girl, some Stepford wife, to humiliate me, and I couldn't live that down for 30 years. I mean, everybody was like, "Yeah, Billy the Backstabber, Billy the Backstabber." Everybody was like a minor bird, a crow, or a parrot, repeating what they heard on the radio. Backstabber. And so then it comes out how dissolute John Kay actually was. And that whole saga is well known. I don't have to go into it, but he was victimizing a couple of underage girls, and there's no simpler way to put it, really. I mean, and here I was the bad guy. I was the villain because I wouldn't quit the show. And
yeah,
yeah,
it did work out for you though in a couple of ways. I did have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Sorry, if you had any more on that, please. I continue. I apologize. I cut you off.
No, it's all right.
So,
you're not used to people with something interesting to say.
a lot of times
you're
it ends
ready
up
to
being
jump
a little bit
in
of the same sort of
and
thing. But
save
yeah,
the day.
dude, you know what?
Hey, I love.
Dead
Shoot
air.
from the hip,
Finding
sir.
every
Shoot
word
from the
you're
hip.
saying,
So,
Billy.
this one, yeah. Of all your
can't have
characters,
What?
characters, which one do you feel would win a fight between them all?
Oh wow.
Wow. I think I know who.
The nuttiest people in the world always ask me questions like that.
Congratulations, Kyle.
You're nutty.
If Powder Toast Man got into a fight with the Joker, who would win? And I said, Geez, I don't know. I mean, do you draw? Yeah. Do you write? Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Well, then why don't you create that situation and then you can determine the outcome? Yeah, but I want you to tell me. No, it was like he's short circuiting.
I don't know. I feel it would probably be Fry just on pure dumb luck.
Well, I was gonna say Bugs Bunny.
He
Well,
did lose to a
because-
tortoise in a cartoon in one episode, though.
Uh-huh.
well, I
If I was a betting man, I would
Yes.
say Stimpy.
Hmm.
in a
I
fight,
would say
what,
I
like a
don't know.
tough man competition, or I don't know. I never think in hypothesis. What did I
I
call
thought
it?
This feels like some
Hypothetical.
comic book guy level questions here, you know?
Yeah, I
No,
know.
like
I
Looney
think
World
Tunes
they're
Series
logic.
is what games
hypothetical.
It really got to that level. Only
Yeah,
reason I said
Yeah,
Stimpy
but
because
you're getting on my nerves.
So actually, so
You're
here's the
really,
question.
you're really embarrassing me and getting on my nerves.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you need a safe space?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
you want ice cream at the end.
Put it away. It's ugly.
I think he's talking about me. Excuse me a second.
Yeah, don't pull a
Scott,
Zoom.
come back.
So,
Wait, excuse me. I gotta put my pants back on.
oh, yeah.
You're a bad.
I can't listen. The
bad
camera only goes halfway up. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
So one of my favorite movies that you voiced is obviously Bugs Bunny.
Mhm.
And my favorite movie, Space Jam, of all time. That's the movie I grew up with. And
Thanks.
I'd like to know first, how did you get the role? And second off, did you work with Michael Jordan?
I had to audition, and Ivan Reitman was doing the movie, but he was just wrapping up Private Parts with Howard Stern. So he used to come into the studio, and he came in and watched how things happened on the air, which appeared like magic to him. Like, how can nothing be going on, and then all of a sudden, bedlam?
Hmm.
Like St. Elmo's fire, just shooting through the furniture and electricity. It's because we were all inspired, all passionate, and wanted to create laughter. That was the main thing, and willing to go to extremes to do it, like uh, doing risky kind of things just to try to find something new. Stumble upon some riff that, oh wow, let's do this again tomorrow. We found something, and that's what would happen with certain characters. Like if I get going. But Ivan Reitman was sitting there and he was like in disbelief, and he asked me if I wanted to audition. So I flew out to California and I went to a studio and he was there and he directed me, and I just did what I would normally do is think long and hard before I open my mouth and then just give it a whirl. It was Mel Blanc, so I mean the gravity of that situation was intense, and because no one can replace him.
Right.
The closest one nowadays is a guy named Eric Bauza. I think he's come
Yep.
closer than anybody else. And I love it. I love that he can
He's good. He's got a good
cover
career.
that. Yeah. So I got the part, and yes, I met Michael Jordan at the end of the movie during the wrap up party.
Wow.
He his agent, Ken Ross, sports agent, somebody's saying his name or calling his name every millisecond. So he's like, Michael, 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 Michael. And his sports agent goes, Michael. And in that voice, he knows, he turns around and he says, this is Billy West. And he reached over 6 people and shook my hand. And he went, Billy, and then he was mighty. And
Yeah.
I got to work with him. Ain't
Nice.
I a little stinker?
Now it's funny because again, this is pre-Futurama too.
Yes.
So at that point, you didn't have like the mainstream resume that you have now.
No. But I just went back to work on the radio, and
Mhm.
I was getting tired of it. I was tired of coming in there and blowing the doors off the place, and then have the general
Mhm.
manager kind of walk by me in the hallway and go, "Hi,
Yep.
thanks a lot. I'm creating fucking magic in there, and you just like you're dead from the neck up, you idiots.
Or you get called into the office and they pull a tape on something you didn't realize.
Well,
That I've had that one before.
well,
Yeah.
I got forced. I was going to be forced to sign something that said that I would be fully, totally, thoroughly responsible for anything I said on that show if the FCC decided to sue.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was like, I said, well, that's it. That's it. You know, it's a good way to force somebody to quit.
Mm.
And I have a feeling that that was a move. You know, it's like, I don't think I was really wanted there
Mm.
as much as it benefited everything.
Well, people also don't realize that DJs and things like that, they don't get paid a lot.
Oh,
Well,
it's-
he did. He was an anomaly.
But most of them don't. I mean, they don't.
No.
People think they get paid a lot. They really don't.
No, it's like indentured servitude.
Yeah.
You try to make a name for yourself on the radio in a market, and everybody knows you, and all of a sudden, but the station owns your name because they gave it to you before you went on the air. You had to be you had to be Booger, or Banana Head or whatever, and they owned it. Then when you went to leave, you couldn't take the audience with you.
Mhm.
Aren't they
Oh,
smart?
wow.
Aren't they clever? They're so
They got
wily.
the systems and they got the lawyers.
Yup.
They're so wily and clever, these programmers.
That remind me of college days when I was at I had the #1 radio show on campus,
Yes.
and because I had a few hiccups, I was getting shot, and they kept threatening me with the FCC, and I'm like, okay, I have no control over this person. I have no control over that person. I could only tell them the rules.
Wait a minute, they were just empty threats. I mean, what was the FCC upset about? They couldn't do anything to somebody that's fumfering on the air.
Yeah, but it was like
No,
people-
that's not indecent. Their whole issue is indecency.
Mhm.
Wow.
Well, I played a Billy Joel song that had an F-bomb in it, and I didn't realize until after I heard it, and then you had that oh crap moment.
Oh yeah, somebody must have heard it.
They did, and somehow it snuck through. I don't even know how.
Oh, so some myopic program director was taking a leak while that was going on. Or
Thank
something.
God. But I didn't. I mean, I don't remember what song it was, but there's a Billy Joel song with an F-bomb out of nowhere, and you want to see what happens basically when you shit a hole through your chair right into the floor.
Yeah, it's like the China syndrome.
Yeah, dude, really.
Yeah, I know. I've walked the line a bit myself. Well, one time I called Robin a vajunt, and it made it. It got through.
Is this the part where I say that my wife's name is Robin too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can make up your own word.
Not gonna say that one. No, tomorrow's our anniversary. It's not a good call.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, Scott.
Yeah, I'm on a film set, so that's how we party at this age.
Was it by chance Laura
Who?
for the F-bomb song?
I don't remember, but it was out of nowhere. It was one of his lesser known songs. I'll find it, but
Anyways,
yeah, no, I'll find it.
so speaking of shows and stuff, I saw on your IMDb, and I know you've probably been asked about this before. It shows that you were in the pilot episode of Invader Zim.
Yes.
Did they just can you give me the backstory? Because it just shows you playing Zim in the first episode, but then after, I know it went to Richard.
Yes. I just, again, if you want to do something, you got to audition, and I auditioned for this kid, Jonan Vasquez, and I recorded a pilot episode, and that was that. I think he felt like I was overexposed, and and he was right, really, because I was all over the place, and
Right.
So he got my friend Richard Horowitz, and Richie is a genius. I mean, he's just such a spark plug. He's
Yes.
so exploratory in his flights of fancy, and when he ad libs, and it's so admirable, and we're pals. We're very close, and I was glad he did that, because that was just a beautiful character, really.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Mhm.
And if you guys don't know who Richie, he also is Billy from Billy and Mandy,
Billy
and he
and
was
Mandy.
the original Alpha 5 in the Power Rangers.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
yes.
I can hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
And-
he's so funny too. He's unbelievably funny.
Now, I wanted to ask this. I mean, Futurama, obviously now 26 years, I think, since the premiere. I know, really. It
I
really
hope I
had.
go quietly in my sleep.
You know what? Here's the thing. It really had a tough run for a while on Fox
Yes,
because it was always preempted by NFL, especially on the East Coast over here.
yes.
You know, and it was constantly in danger. And there was a whole thing where, my opinion only, like Fox was way more interested in focusing its attention on, like, say, The Simpsons, or, you know, at the time, like Arrested Development or Family Guy, for that matter.
Yeah.
For you guys in this situation, you know, this was a big break for you, you know, and a big moment. You, John DiMaggio, all the rest of them, how are you looking at that? What were the thoughts that you guys had at that moment? And really just where were things going?
Well, when it was about to debut, we had to go meet the press. And so me and John, they sent a car, and we were in a car together, and we were talking. And I said, John, just take every second of this in. Just be in every single moment, because it goes by at light speed. I've been here. You know, I've seen images of my characters as graffiti, you know, on buildings in New York City. And, you know, I said, it's very fleeting, and, you know, enjoy every second of it. And, you know, and he remembered that I said that. And I also said, you're going to get a lot of work out of this, because I was aware of his talent. I said, you're going to, you know, you're going to kick ass. And I was right. A couple of times I was predicting somebody would go on to do this or that, you know, because I know I can, there's a light around certain people, and I'm an empath and I can see it. So,
you know, and eventually, obviously, he had Final Fantasy X shortly after that. I was going to say, what else?
He's Draco from Kim Possible.
Possible. He was also the Joker a few times too, I believe.
Yeah,
Good Joker too. You know,
really good.
Yeah, underappreciated. Him, you know, I think surprised a lot of people with a lot of those movies there.
And Jake from Adventure Time.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and Aquaman, and
how many times
he did DC stuff. I always do the fluky, you know, the oddball DC stuff. Like Bruce Timm called me up, and he said, I want you to do a voice for a character I got. And he had this character, Booster Gold.
Yep.
My God.
Hero of the 29th century.
Yes. And it was very funny and very cool. I thought it was a very rich character. But he had this little assistant that just floated around that was a yes man. And I said, what do you want me to do? And he said, just be Billy. And I said, okay, that's a voice hardly anybody ever hears. So I was like, yes, sir. Okay, of course, sir. Sure, sir. You're absolutely right, sir. You know, and he loved it. That's exactly what he wanted. And then people come up and talk about that. And I said, there's not a whole lot to talk about.
Do people ever look at, you know, listen to you and say, you sound like that guy on TV, and then be like, you don't look like him?
Sometimes. Sometimes. My voice is all over the place. You know, I mean, you would never know from some of the ways that, like, if I'm doing a Comic-Con or something and people come up and they're going to pose for a photo, and I go, get in. I said, get in. You know, and they're looking at me like, that's the guy that does Doug, huh?
Question here. I'll get to you guys in a sec, but what traits make one a genius when it comes to voice acting? That's an interesting one.
Well, it's up to the audience to decide if you're a genius or not. You know, when you call yourself stuff like that, I don't think it's you collapse under the weight of your own hype, especially if you start believing certain things people write about you. You know, that's why people get their head explodes and they get this ego and everything. I'm devoid of it because I have no sense of entitlement. And also, celebrity doesn't mean jack shit to me. I mean, it's like everybody else's this, you know, worship. But my heroes when I was growing up were artists. You know, sculptors and painters and architects, and, you know, people who saved lives. And to this day, frontline workers are heroic. But just because you're a celebrity doesn't mean you're a hero to me. I mean, you know, and I know them. I know celebrities. I mean, it's no big deal. And, you know, yeah.
I
Go ahead,
was
guys.
gonna ask, but I think you just answered my question.
Yeah.
Have you ever been starstruck at all when like you get like a certain role? Has there ever been anybody you just wasn't expecting to be in the project and it just kind of like gave you a
Um,
little starstruck?
I was, I remember when I lived in New York City and I did an ad for Fruit Roll-Ups, and it had the Nickelodeon characters in it, Doug and Ren and Stimpy. And the narrator, the announcer of the commercial, was a guy named Jackson Beck, who happened to be one of my idols. I mean, I grew up listening to him. He was the voice of Bluto in all the Popeye cartoons.
Mm,
And he was a million things that you would never know. I mean,
wow.
um, but here he was, you know, this old lion, and he had to be 80. And I just said, Mr. Beck, I can't tell you how I feel about just being here working with you. I never, first of all, I never thought I'd ever get to meet you, but let alone work with you. And I said, I hope I did okay. You know, I was acting very needy. And he said, where you been? We've been saving a seat for you. You know, and I tell people that want to do voiceover now, they ask me for advice, and I wind up telling them we're saving a seat for you.
Hmm.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yay. You got anything?
I had a couple of questions. When you did Doug, I know you voiced Roger and Doug. So
Mhm.
who out of those two were your favorite characters?
I never can pick a favorite. I'm always like, I did the show for 4 seasons. I didn't do the Disney Doug. I couldn't do
Right.
business with them. They wanted me to work. They wanted me to do more work for less money, and I said, I wish you the best. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm an adult. I'm what you call an adult, and I need to make a living.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm
I
not
was
a
gonna say
boy.
you got to get that you got to get the SAG pension and that SAG health.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
You're not Doug in real life. You're not just a kid. You're an adult. You need that money.
Yeah, but the real joke and the irony is I was Doug when I was 11. I fantasized. It was hard to figure out shit, and I had a bully and I based Roger on that bully.
Mm.
Wow.
This kid whose his hair was pointy, his nose was pointy, his shoes were pointy, and he was always.
His finger was pointy.
Yeah, it was all to bother you and get up your nose. And so I said, everybody thinks one kid's going to turn out a certain way, and you're sure the other kid's like Roger, he'll be dead or in jail, which is usually what happens. Um, and the good kid becomes a pillar of the community. But one time I just blurted out this scenario. Dear Journal, today I blew up the courthouse. See him in court. Order in the court. Order.
Sounds so much like me
Order.
growing up. Wow.
Oh, look who it is. It's you, funny. You
I'm
loser.
sorry,
I knew I was
sorry,
going to see you in
sorry.
here one day. I knew it. I knew it. You got loser written all over your face. It's even spelled wrong. You're going to jail, funny. I'm sentencing you to jail, funny. You're going to be someone's bitch in jail, funny. Oh, yeah. You're going to be a bitch every night, funny. Just imagine. Oomba, 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 oomba. Oh, no. Do, 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 do.
So,
Wow.
we speak of conventions, and I know you go to a lot of these conventions. What is your favorite thing about going to them?
I feel totally at home
Mhm.
because there isn't a narcissist within 20 miles of one of those things.
Mm.
There's no toxic masculinity.
Mm.
There's no misogyny. Everybody's an empath. What a fucking world this would be if that's the way things could be.
Exactly.
Oh
It's
my
community.
God. And then it dawned on me. I went, wait a minute. Most of these people are on the autism spectrum. And they're trying to say, well, because I noticed the explosion of autistic births recently, and they're trying to explain it away by saying the mothers took Tylenol. And I'm yelling at the TV, you fucking idiot. You know, autism was invented before Tylenol, you stupid idiot. You know, you shouldn't. I don't know how these people can just come on TV and make proclamations. You know, because I really know. I mean, vaccination saves lives.
Mhm.
There was polio when I was a kid. And I watched kids that had strangled muscles and braces and inability to breathe properly, and then dying in hospitals and an iron lung. And, you know, the minute my mom heard about that vaccine, we went down there on a racehorse. Because back then there was no Fox television to tell you that the vaccine is made out of dead babies and pigeon shit and salad dressing, and you can get polio from having a polio shot. You know, that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
And some people fall for it. But I mean, I thank God my mom was smart enough to get me vaccinated, because I would have got polio. But I forget where I was before I started talking about that stuff.
I was asking about the
Convention
conventions,
life.
and you were
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the people
hashtag
that are
convention life.
there, autism.
Hmm.
I noticed the explosion of autistic births, and nobody can explain it, and they're trying to find ways to just say, "Oh, it's this." I think this is just my opinion, but I think autism is the next step in human evolution. Is what I think it is.
Ooh.
I think that all the qualities that these people have, compassion, loyalty, sincerity, a basic honesty, and a love of things like um, art, different types of art, comic book art, movies. You know, I think that society at large is losing those things uh,
True.
in a huge way. I mean, people are willing to battle it out over a candy wrapper. You know, I mean, to go to the death blow, you know, over a parking space. I've been on airplanes where two 35-year-old guys decide to get into a fist fight, and I'm sitting there going, where are these fucking freaks coming from? Where? We're doomed. And so nature is not oblivious to that shit. You know, nature's job is to make sure we continue to evolve forward. So you know, like when nature sees somebody at Yellowstone Park going and kicking a buffalo, a napping buffalo, and then they get gored and killed, nature just goes, I had to take him out. I didn't have any choice. I had to take him out because,
Darwinism.
yeah, really, I
Yeah.
had to take him out. I don't want that shit in the gene pool. And the guy doing the video is next because he's almost as stupid.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we're living in a world where there's a syndrome called Dunning-Kruger, and it simply states that there are people that are so stupid they don't know they're stupid, and they think they're all that. That means, to me, that equals extinction. That's being the dodo. That's being this animal that went extinct, or that, because it was too stupid to survive. And we're right there now. I hate to say it. So anyway, my hope for the future is that the autistic births will continue, and it'll eventually work into the mainstream of society, and it'll bring society up. It can only do that. And nature has always made an intervention in the human condition. Always.
what is the weirdest thing you've signed at a convention?
Good question.
What I'm playing with while you're talking, by the way, I just want to point that out.
What are you playing with?
I got Legos that I play with, so I understand where you're coming from with this. It keeps me from rocking back and forth.
Yes.
So.
Well, the Greeks had worry beads, and
Sorry,
yeah,
Rob. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was asking him what was the weirdest thing he's signed at a convention. I'm guessing he's probably going to say a body part.
No, not really. There was this guy. He was so imaginative and original, and he made a costume. It's a podium, a wooden podium, and on it is a jar like from the Head Museum, and in it is Nixon's head, and he is inside going around yelling "Aroo!" And I said, "This is the greatest thing I ever saw. This is so funny," and so I signed the wood. I signed the podium. Yeah, Nixon's podium.
That's great.
You know, I was drafted by that bastard in 1970
Wow.
during Vietnam War, and they were stenciling my name on a footlocker because I had a very low draft number 30 in the draft lottery, which
Whoa.
meant you're going.
Yeah.
So I went for the physicals, and it turns out that I had the flattest feet anybody ever saw, and I happen to have high blood pressure, hypertension. so I couldn't get in. So I was really glad about that because I wanted to play music. I joined a band and I started playing music. I wouldn't have been able to do those things if I had to go to Vietnam. So all these years later, all these many years later, in the Nixon library to this very day runs a continuous loop of all the Nixon stuff that I did on Futurama in his library. I won. I won. I won. Oh, he won. Oh. And people, the writers said to me, "Why do you do that Aru when you're talking like him?" I said, "What? You don't like it?" And they said, "Yeah, we love it. We just don't know why you do it." I said, "It's because in 1962 there was a televised debate. It was the first televised presidential debate between Nixon and John F. Kennedy. And Kennedy was in soft focus, and he looked like a matinee idol." That beautiful hair and the ultra bright smile. And, he just looked nothing but charm from head to toe. And then Nixon, on the other hand, they did extreme close ups of him in crystal clear focus. That was Kennedy's people. They said, just do extreme close ups of him. So you could see like hair growing out of his nose and, and sweating, and his hair was all matted. And, he was a mess, and he was, and I said, "Jesus, Mom, he looks like he's going to turn into a werewolf." Because I was a horror fan, and I watched, I would watch Lon Chaney Jr. lock himself in the room, and then suddenly, slowly turn. And so that's why I did that. I want to be president of the United States because Aru, Aru, Aru. And Matt Groening loved that. He said, "I don't care what it is, just do it."
Nice. Day, if you go ahead, and then I have a question of my own after this, and a left field one of that for me.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Oh God, I got confused when he did the Nixon.
All right, should I go?
Yeah, go.
Let it go.
Okay.
I got something to show
Let's
up.
pretend in a hypothetical universe across the vast multiverse, this is a thing that could actually happen. Dr. Zoidberg decides to release a solo album of possibly, let's say, Taylor Swift's best hits. What would that sound like?
I don't know. I don't think he would like Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I think
What
he'd
would
probably
he do,
rather
though?
sing a song like "My Hump, My Hump, My Hump, My Lovely Little Lump." Check it out.
My hump, my hump, my hump.
I wish I could sing like that.
My lovely little lump. Check it out.
Do you think that basically? Do you think he'd sing "Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy"?
No,
Okay.
no.
Oh
There's
my God! If
no.
you do that, oh my God!
What? Oh my God.
He was making the joke if you were actually saying "Happy Joy Joy" as Zoidberg.
We had a question. We had a question beforehand on that. But if he would actually sing, if he'd sing like "Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy." So.
Really? You want me to do a whole dog and pony show for you three, right?
I'll sing with you.
Sure.
Hey, excuse me.
I'll be the first. I'll be the first one to do it.
Okay.
I'm rushing to go do it right now.
Sorry.
Bear with me.
Sorry, man. So.
This
See,
is like radio. This
feel
is like
bad.
radio when I used to do radio interviews like 25, 26 years ago, 30 years ago.
I'm sorry,
like,
man.
We got a sports guy, and he does Ren like you wouldn't believe. And we had this idea that if you did Stimpy and he did Ren, or you could do dueling Stimpies. What do you think about that? Well, I think that's a great idea. I'm glad you thought of that because it's really, and I'd be sitting there dying. I say, these guys got to be kidding me. They're trying to co-opt something that is not meant to hold in your hand,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If
I'm
there,
sorry.
No.
I'm
No,
sorry.
don't be sorry.
Is there any role which you were like, damn, I would have been good at that?
Oh no, I never coveted anything.
Okay.
I was just grateful, totally fortunate and grateful. You talk to anybody, talk to, Tom Kenny, Jim Cummings, Robbie Paulson, any of these guys, we just come from a place of real, real serious gratitude. Yeah, thank God. And we know what the odds are. They're 1,000,000,000 to 1
Yeah.
somebody could do this and not only get work but become known. You know, to make the books. Yeah.
Especially at that time. I know Jim always tells the story about how Helen Hunt's dad had this book, and in one of the and it was how to break into the show business.
Yes.
And it was like chapter like 5 or something, voice acting, and it basically said there's 10 people that do it. You're not one of them, so don't even try. And Jim always says, thank God I didn't see that book because I already broke it in and didn't know I wasn't supposed to.
Right. Well, you know, it's the thing about if you don't know you can't do something, you can probably do it. You know, it's
Yes.
If someone says you can't do that, you know, or science says that that's impossible. I mean, there's some of the sounds that come out of a human being, and namely myself. And somebody will say that's just that you're not supposed to be able to, and it never made sense to me. It's like a bumblebee flying around can fly, and then I find out aerodynamically it's impossible for the thing to fly, but it doesn't know it, so it does it anyway. You know, I have magical thinking. I never thought in terms of technicalities. And
so I did want to bring up something. One of the funniest reactions I had with you was at Rhode Island Comic Con.
Oh, that was a big one.
This ain't the first time we met, but when I met you at Rhode Island, I told your person that was handling it, I said, I got a Funko Pop he's never signed, and I told you the same thing, and you're like, I'd like to see it, and then I had you sign the Bugs Bunny, Buddy the Elf Funko, and I'll never forget what you said, because you're like, they just make a Funko Pop out of anything, and that was like, the greatest interaction.
Oh, sorry.
I remember it, but I did meet the Funko Pop guys one time. They came up and they were like, you know, they announced, we're the Funko Pop guys. I said, congratulations. I said, you guys hit the mother load, you know, with that Funko Pop idea. And they said, you know what, though? We can make you a Funko Pop of anything that you want. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, anything. And I said, can you make one? Imagine the box with the lettering, Alcoholic Nun.
Did they?
Yeah. And they were like, huh. You know, I mean, I said, I gave them hints. I said, you know, she could have the bottle of holy wine and the crucifix. And I love Jesus. I love Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace. Jesus. Yeah, Alcoholic Nun. They'd sell 1 billion of them.
And speaking of conventions, so I met you first in 2017.
Wow.
And I met you at Dallas Fan Expo, which was a big deal for me because that was my first time I ever got to go to a big convention.
Yes.
And that was the year that Stan Lee was there.
Oh.
You had Adam West and Burt Ward were there.
Yes.
Kevin Conroy was there.
Yeah, the best.
Yes. And I remember we had a booth that was right across from you. I was the one with the big Halo monster. It was from Halo Reach. There was this big guy, and that's who I was with. And I came over to you, and you know, you were a really nice guy, got a picture. And then you're what taught me that after you meet them, before you meet somebody, look them up, because you didn't have a picture of my favorite character, which is Bugs Bunny from Space Jam.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was you until after I left the convention, and I went to the IMDb and I was looking up Billy West, and yes, there's us 8 years ago. In 2017, that was on it was the weekend of April 1st, April Fool's weekend. And it's just a moment I'll never forget. And when I looked up and found out you were thankfully I've met you multiple times since, but I was like, at that time, didn't know if I was going to go to another convention or have the opportunity. And I was like, I missed my chance to tell Billy that I loved him as Bugs Bunny. So yeah.
Now I know. Now I know.
Yes, now you know. I do want to ask, what is your favorite color, sir?
I don't know. I think mostly green. Green and blue.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites.
I like turquoise.
I like nuclear magenta.
There you go.
Yeah, I like
Person
Curious
specific.
Yellow, and Gangrene is a favorite.
Oh, by the way, I love your story about the mafia that you were telling on Jim's podcast.
Which one?
The one that you said you have restless sleep because you think, or you still think the mafia is going to come after you because of you were speaking about the radio times and you guys made a parody song.
Oh, yes. Yeah. The New England Mafia. We made a parody song about the guy that was, in jail. And we forgot that he has friends.
They talk, yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's straight out of the movie, The Departed, then basically, right?
The what?
The Departed.
Is that a plot line in it?
I think. Well, basically, it kind of centers around the Boston mob.
Oh,
That was the one with Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio.
oh yeah, yeah.
It was a Scorsese film that didn't win an Oscar.
I think there's a couple of factions in Boston. There was the Winter Hill Gang. That was Billy Bulger, not Billy Bulger, Whitey Bulger. And then there was the New England Crime Syndicate. There was Providence, Rhode Island. Yeah, it was big. Everybody was into it. It's big. It's the new thing to be.
I find it hilarious that Canada has a mob.
Wait, what?
Canada has a mafia. Yeah.
Of course they do.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice story.
I don't know
you
anything
have.
about it.
Huh?
I don't know a thing about it. I just know they got one.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. See, you came away with at least some kind of useless, pointless knowledge out of this.
Yes, Dave.
Okay, it's a nice story you got here. Too bad if something were to happen to it, eh?
So go ahead, Dave.
My question.
We're going to wrap up in a few minutes.
Okay. My question is, what advice would you have for anybody that's pursuing voice acting or trying to get into voice acting?
Well, you have to have passion for it, and you have to have inspiration. You have to be inspired for just about anything. You need to be inspired, to rise above like the confines that you find yourself in, and you want to do something that hopefully is great. You got to rise above stuff, and you can't do that unless you have passion and inspiration. But when I first started, when I was trying to do what I did, there was no signposts, there were no teachers, there were no schools, there was no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of chose me. I kind of went with it, I wound up in radio in Boston. After I was playing music, I was in a band. And then I moved to New York and did radio there. But that was a good place to go. But now you've got your own version of that. Like, radio's dead. No one needs the radio for anything. Sure. This is where everything is at. Everybody has a show. Everyone has an audience. So you can showcase yourself. You should set aside time for each show that you do and say, hey, I had this idea, you mind if I try it, and go off. And you never know who's watching. You never know who will be inspired by it. I never played anything small ever. I played everything big because you'll never inspire someone else if you don't do that. Somebody else will catch the spark and go, I want to do that. That's what I think turns me on and makes, and I think it's a cool thing to do.
Before we do go, or do you have any more questions, Dave?
I have one more question.
Okay.
Have you ever did Twisted Tunes? Like when you go to the convention?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What
I like it.
Okay.
I
What was
don't like it because it's not written as a comedy performance. It's like watching a car wreck in slow motion.
I was going to say
reading from a full-length movie, and then Yoda says, as Bugs Bunny, okay.
I got to actually see one of those. It was, I think, you were at Dragon Con, I think in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. And Kari Payton was on stage, Maurice LaMarche.
Yes.
And you guys were doing, I think it was like the Wizard of Oz or something like that.
Yeah.
It was hilarious watching.
I was in San Francisco, and there's one that got about 1 billion hits. It's because I went nuts. I had it with the whole premise. I said, I'm not reading a fucking 3-hour movie in real time. What do you got, rocks in your head? You know, and I'm just being honest, you know, and I'm pounding on the table, and I said, you know, comedy has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I knock everything off the table, and I'm screaming and yelling. And because to me it was just like it just kind of drags on. I know people sit there in disbelief that their favorite voice people are doing voices, but to me it's like I wish that it was written as a show, like
Yeah.
a full performance rather than okay. And now you know, Bugs Bunny says as Darth Vader, you know, it's hokey to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
if
literally
you-
what I asked you to do like 10 minutes ago. I'm sorry about that.
yeah, no, I mean, I'd rather have somebody ask me to sit on stage and have no preparation and just pull stuff out of my ass and throw it against the wall, because that's the only way you're going to find anything new, is by not being afraid to fail, which I never was. I was fearless, and I admire fearless people. I was never afraid to bomb or fail. I used to go on stage with nothing, no material, just whatever the hell I pulled out of my ass. And sometimes it'd be really, really great, and it would be brilliant. You know, you find all these things you never knew you were capable of, and then another night you go to hell in a twisted metal fireball, because you can't replicate the emotional resonance from one room to another. You know, the people in one place might think you're the balls, and then the next night they're like, you know, starting to, you know, throw lemon peels at you or whatever.
Yeah.
I know we're about to let you go, so I was going to ask you, do you have anything you would like to promote? Do you have anything coming up? I don't know if you still got any projects coming up in the future that you could talk about.
Well,
What future
they-
conventions do you have coming up?
they just dropped season 13 of Futurama, and you can binge it on Hulu.
Okay.
And then there's another season coming after that, which we're putting the finishing touches on.
Nice.
And it's been extremely fun, and I just love it so much. I mean, I think it's the best thing I ever did. And I would have been a fan of the show just because of the writing. You know,
Yes.
even if I had nothing to do with it, the writers are my heroes.
Yeah.
And so I have a book. During the pandemic I wrote a book, an autobiography, and that's going to come out the middle of next year, which is not far from now.
Yeah.
And it's called Voice Versa.
Hmm.
And no one wants to read about how great your life is going. They want to know where the hell you came from, and I had a horrific childhood, you know. But the spoiler is that there's a happy ending.
Yeah.
Unless I get hit by a bus tomorrow morning going to work.
No,
But you said the book was finished though, right? You
no.
said to finish the book with it.
we still need you.
Yeah, you do.
You still
Yeah.
need you, Billy
Well,
West.
I've got to keep going and do stuff. Yeah, you know, I'm 74, and I was ready to retire. I did actually. I officially took my pensions and my you know, Social Security and all that before the government just comes and takes it. And I said, you know what, I want to just have some peace and quiet. I want to be an old Irish guy and sit next to an old Irish river with an old Irish dog and a young Persian nurse. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll make a deal with her. I'll be like, look, all you got to do is let me crawl on top of you for like 4 years and I'll be gone. You know, do the words
Follow
rich
your dreams,
widow-
kids.
No,
Yeah. Do the words
everybody's
rich,
dream right now, but I'm not Irish.
do the words rich widow mean anything to you?
Do you have any cons coming up, Billy?
Yeah, there's more coming up. I will post them online. I can't. Let me see. Wait a minute. I might have a calendar here somewhere.
Sorry, I didn't know if you
Yeah,
knew.
I'm gonna be. There's this Pine Street Expo in Maine, and then there's one in Illinois, which is Comic Con,
Yes.
the 22nd of November. And I think that's it for now. There'll be others, but I'll try to post them on my
Yep.
Twitter and my Facebook.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again,
Oh,
Mr.
thank you.
Billy.
Thank you.
This was literally a dream, literally come
Yes.
true.
Yes.
For, I can say, at least for Day, at least for me, and I'm pretty sure for Scott,
Yeah.
I'm pretty,
No argument.
it means a lot that we've stayed in contact on the Facebook Messenger. And
I'm glad.
I know I was messaging you back in March, and you're like, "We'll figure something out." And then I said, "You know what? It's been about 6 months. I'm gonna reach back out to Billy and say, "Hey, Billy, got any free time?" And it meant a lot when you said that. You're like, "I got free time for you on Monday," and I said,
Nice.
"Okay, got it, done."
Well, I'm glad you did.
So are we.
And
Yes.
and like and subscribe.
There.
Like and subscribe.
Now, one thing I would like
Wait,
to
no,
ask
it's not. I
is-
don't have the mic in the picture enough. Wait. Okay. Now, what were we talking about?
Could you, by chance, in any voice you'd like, say, and you're watching Tales from the Film Set?
Yeah.
You're watching Tales from the film, and like that.
Thank you, sir. Much love.
So,
And guys, on that note, that is Scott. That is Davion. That is the one and only Billy West. And I'm Buddy the Elf, aka Robert Manning. And this is Tales from the Film Set. Woo!